Hello and welcome to Solopreneur, the show that helps business owners who are flying solo to solve their big sales, marketing and systems challenges one episode at a time. You can watch the video version of this episode at solopreneur.com. I'm Gareth Everson, and after last episode where I talked about your most cost-effective first hire being a really good all-in-one CRM, on this episode, I'm going to be talking through how to budget for not just CRM, but also your wider systems that will help you to run your marketing, sales, and operational side of your business. And we're going to split it out by the different phases that your business might be in, from startup through to growth and scale up. So there's going to be lots of detail, lots of numbers in this episode, but let's try and keep it on track and in focus. Before I get started, if you're at your desk while you're listening to this podcast, you can do two things. The first thing is you can go to the resources page for this show. And actually, the resources page is on my software site for this show on the lemonadeplan.com website. If you go to lemonadeplan.com/choose-marketing-systems, you'll be able to see the background and the table that supports this episode. The second thing that you can do if you are at your desk is go to wherever you're listening to this podcast, be it Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and please leave a review if this has been useful to you. Got some nice reviews coming in already, and it means a lot hearing your feedback about what you like or what you'd like to see improved or different content that you'd like to get from the podcast. So thank you for that if you already have left a review there. Let's talk about why your systems might change for the different stages that you're at in your business. The main reason is a budgetary one, really. And I guess on the side of that, also a time perspective as well. When you are in full scale up and growth mode and you're established and you know how to turn interest into leads and leads into sales in a really efficient way, you'll have systems in your business, and we'll come onto it on this episode, that will run effectively for you. And that will incorporate lots of different things that you're investing in, be it ads, some direct mail, some system support, and more budget being spent across the piece because you know that the return on that investment is pretty much guaranteed. Contrast that to when you're just starting out or you're in what I would describe, having come from a software background, as product market fit mode, by which I mean, whilst you might have been running your business for a number of months or perhaps even a few years, you're still really trying to find the market or the product fit that really clicks, that really turns your business from something where you're trying to discover a way to sell your expertise into your audience to something where you know that you've got the audience for that product and you know that you can solve their problems profitably with your solutions, with your services. So at that end of the spectrum, you've got a lot less money to be able to play with in terms of investing in digital systems to help you out with it. And also, you're probably doing a lot of the tasks and activities yourself. So we need to put a slant on that when you are more in this startup mode. Startup mode, as I say, could be anywhere from your first few weeks in business to your first few years in business, and until the point you've got some traction with your marketing message and your product and your client base. So let's come at this with both of those lenses, and you'll find yourself somewhere on that journey as we talk through things. So I've got 4 categorizations of business size. We've talked about the scale-up business, and I'd class that kind of business as one that is turning over upwards of about £20,000 per month or £250,000 a year. That's at the top end of the spectrum of businesses that I might work with. You're probably looking for more in-house or more completely outsourced marketing support once you go beyond that size. But you can still run a really good solopreneur business at that size. A little bit smaller than that is what I would describe as a growth business. So if you're at the point where your turnover is upwards of about £10,000 per month, that's what I'd describe as a growth business. So if you're at six-figure revenues for the year, you're probably in growth mode. And at that stage, great if you're still operating that on your own or perhaps with a little bit of freelance or virtual assistant help. Perfectly possible in a expert business. That's what I'd describe as growth mode, and we're going to talk about that. Then the next tier that I would describe is a business that is either just under or just over the VAT threshold, which, as I record this in the UK, is about the £85,000 a year mark. So round about £7,000 a month in revenues. And then at the lower end of the spectrum, you're in this getting going type mode. So if your business is in either startup mode or anywhere between zero revenue per month and about £5,000 per month, that's what I would describe as the getting going type level. So if your annual turnover is under about £60,000 a year, you're probably more in this getting going mode. And the majority of this episode will focus on that as a grouping and what things you probably need to put in place, especially if the majority of your work on finding leads and marketing to them and selling to them is done by you. So let's start with the businesses that are getting going, the businesses that are reaching towards going from some revenue to about £60,000 a year revenue, or around about £5,000 per month. If you're in that tier, or you're working towards being in that tier, then the key challenges that you'll have are being able to find leads, discover leads, people discover you, being able to attract those into your world, perhaps from multiple organic sources, social media, perhaps your website's SEO, starting to then also use some basic advertising methods, remarketing, or starting to advertise in a small way, either on Facebook or LinkedIn or somewhere like that, to start to gather interest in what you offer. At that kind of level, you'll have you'll set a priority of being able to bring visitors to your website, perhaps social media profiles, but let's focus on website, bringing them to specific pages, landing pages, and being able to attract enough of their interest as they look at that page to give you their details to opt in to receive a lead magnet. That lead magnet might be, as we talked about before, an ebook, a PDF, a checklist guide, perhaps a short video series, or access to some sort of membership group. Those are all great things that you can use as lead magnets on your website. The thing that you'll then be doing with those leads is using email nurturing to stay in contact and to keep the interest of those leads and to keep the awareness of those leads building up towards a point where they recognize what problems they've got and recognize that you are a good person that can solve those problems that they have in their lives. So being able to attract leads and be able to capture those leads and nurture those leads until they're ready to have a sales conversation with you. So at a basic level, as we talked about on the last episode, it's about having an all-in-one CRM that will do that. Manage landing pages for you, manage a means to capture leads, and be able to manage and segment those leads that come in so that you can market to them using your email marketing, using a modest budget of online ads to stay front of mind until they're ready to be able to buy from you. I'll do a separate session on how to advertise and how to use remarketing advertising to stay front of mind, either with people that have seen you already or to keep your message bubbling up to the surface with those people who've already opted in to receive something from you. So we're starting with a basic premise that you're going to be investing something like £200 per month on that all-in-one CRM that includes your landing pages, your CRM, sales pipeline, and email marketing and automation. It will probably also have in there some element of being able to help you to draft content, perhaps AI plugins or something like that. It will allow you to manage all of your communications in there, whether that's your email marketing or have a kind of all-in-one inbox that allows you to email out one-to-one with people or receive from different social media platforms DMs to that platform as well, so that you have an all-in-one picture of that contact record on the CRM. It will probably also have an element that allows you, using a vehicle like Stripe or Go Cardless or some other payment mechanism, to be able to get paid for your services. So those are key features that your all-in-one CRM will have. So that's £200 per month that you should budget for that at a basic level, and then start to plan to build up to or have available to you around about £10 per day advertising budget to use to either generate new interest or remarket to existing people who found you. So your budget at this level, the getting going stage, where your turnover is less than £60,000 per year or £5,000 per month, at a basic level, about £200 a month for the core software, and then up to around about £300 per month for advertising, £10 per day for advertising. Try and set aside that budget to help you to build up to that turnover level of £60,000. So that's the getting going stage. So at the getting going stage, that probably is the equivalent of about £16.50 in total per day, every day of the month. If you're trying to hit that turnover level, £60,000 per year, £5,000 per month, without these systems and without these functions and without this advertising or promotion within your business, it's kind of like trying to run a car without fuel or without topping it up with fuel. You'll only get so far using your own time and own energy and own way of promoting your business without using that extra top up of being able to promote using advertising. So don't let your marketing engine run dry by not having that consistent promotion going on around it. So the big outcome that we're trying to achieve in that getting going phase is probably twofold. One, to get your business at what the software people call product market fit. You know that there's an audience for what you provide, and you know that by getting enough eyeballs on your content, you're going to get enough leads into your business in a predictable way. As I've talked about before, a lead a day keeps the downturns away. So if you have that budget of roughly £10 per day, you should be honing that and you should be testing that to such a point that that is turning into at least one, if not more, leads per day for your business, 30 there or thereabouts across the month, that you can then turn into the kind of clients that turn you into a £5,000 a month business, £60,000 a year type business. £5,000 a month or £60,000 a year is a fantastic milestone. At that stage, unless you've got exceptionally high personal costs, you should be running a business that pays for how you live. You should be able to take out of that business, especially at those costs that we're talking about in terms of marketing, you should be able to take out of that business a reasonable, modest salary that's above the average for the nation. Then let's think about where we go from there. And I always like to think of it, especially because I work primarily with solo owner businesses, solopreneurs. I always then like to think about how do you then move up to the point where you're hitting the VAT threshold and starting to plan for what happens beyond that. You'll also see that accountants often talk about the under VAT threshold and the above the VAT threshold turnover model. So it's a good one to think about. So at this stage, just by way of reflection, you'd be hitting £85,000 a year turnover, or around about £7,000 a month. And the key difference between this and the early stages is one of consistency. So when you're starting to approach that kind of level of turnover in your business, you're not having what I would describe blank days or blank weeks or blank months. You are having a lot more consistency and a lot more predictability around what your sales pipeline looks like and your delivery pipeline. So you've got a great entry offer and you're moving those people that come into your world, you're moving them towards a good buying decision that's profitable for you and that you know is deliverable and scalable. Now, in terms of what your systems and advertising mix might look like at this kind of level, it's round about 10% of that £7,000 a month revenue that you're making. So round about £700 per month is what you should be devoting to systems and advertising at that kind of level. And at that stage, you're probably in the bracket of spending about £250 rather than £200 at the lower level on systems. So that includes your all-in-one CRM plus a budget of about £50 for something that's pertinent to you and your business, that's a nice add-on for that all-in-one CRM. So about £250 you should be devoting to your systems software type budget. That then leaves you with about £450 per month to devote to advertising and promotion. And if you've already got into your stride with regards to new lead generation and good remarketing type activities with ads, all this is a case of is broadening what you do with those ads and devoting a little bit more budget to those activities. It might still be on the same advertising channel that you're using. It might be Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Google ads, but you probably move up to spending about £450 per month or £15 a day on those ads that you're using. Nothing particularly different to what got you to break through that £60,000 per year threshold, but just spending a little bit more on that. What does that look like per day? Well, that's probably around about the £23 per day on systems plus advertising. £700 a month is a good number to have set aside for your systems and promotional or advertising type activities to get you to that VAT threshold, £7,000 a month or £85,000 a year, there or thereabouts. How will that look different to what you were doing at the kind of lower getting going type stage? There'll be probably two things that are slightly different. One, because you're advertising a little bit more, you'll be getting a little bit slicker in terms of being able to track and manage and tweak those landing pages and your follow-up marketing so that it's working more effectively for you. You might even, with the budget that you have, be bringing in that second advertising channel for your marketing activities. That's fundamentally the only difference between the getting going tier, where you're moving up towards the sort of £60,000 a year turnover, and the VAT threshold tier of about £7,000 a month or £85,000 per year. So the next stage is what I'd describe as growth mode. So you've broken through the VAT threshold. You're now charging your clients that extra 20% VAT, which isn't an issue if you're working in a B2B setting where your clients are already beyond that VAT threshold, because obviously that just balances out. But if you're working with consumers, that obviously becomes a bit more of a challenge for them, because you're in effect increasing your charges to them by 20%. So you need to then, at that stage, move into a more sort of quality or premium offering where they can really see a difference that's worth that extra 20%. But now let's move into how you turn into that growth-based business. And a growth-based business is one that I would describe as having burst through the six-figure turnover mark. Probably around about £10,000 a month is a good threshold to aim for this. At this kind of level, you'll have multiple funnels that are working, I would think, and you'll have different product or service offerings that differentiate between different types of buyers. You'll have your offering that worked through the earlier stages, but you'll also probably be starting to build in some kind of premium offer where you know the kind of top end of the market that will pay, I was going to say slightly more, but it could even be significantly more to work with you and get higher quality outcomes from it. It's a high quality experience that they're going to be getting with you. At this stage, when we get into growth, if we use the car analogy a little bit more, this is where we're starting to think about that fuel injection for our engine. How do we turn the workable family car into something that's a little bit more exciting to drive on the country lanes and down the motorway? And at this stage, your systems budget isn't dramatically higher. At this stage, you're probably going to be budgeting something like £300 for systems and software in your business. Bear in mind, it was £250 at the tier below, £200 at the entry tier. So not significantly more compared to the turnover that you'd be generating. That, again, might be devoted to software that just helps you to either deliver your services more effectively. It might be a membership program, a membership software, something like that. Or it might be something that's specific to you and your industry, a dedicated CRM in that space, perhaps. Or it might be some software that helps you to do what you do slightly more effectively. So £300 a month for systems. At this tier, with your multiple funnels, you'll be incorporating a wider variety of promotional means. So at this stage, you might be setting aside some budget to do direct mailing, to nurture your leads that have come through in a slightly different way, giving them a different experience. You might at this stage have written your first book and be sending that out as a gift to your prospects that come into your world. You might also be incorporating perhaps even video advertising. At this stage, especially if you're confident in front of camera or have become a little bit more confident in front of camera, you might also start to incorporate YouTube advertising as a route to be able to get people into your funnels. You probably haven't done that earlier in your business's evolution because you've still been playing around with the messaging that works to get the right types of leads into your business. But at this stage, this is where it feels a little bit more effective to use. And if we're thinking about a £10,000 a month business, if we take that good rule of thumb again, that you're devoting about 10% of your revenues towards systems and advertising, you'll have at this stage about £1,000 per month budget, which leaves you, when we take out the £300 for systems, it leaves you about £700 to play with for advertising and promotion. And if we take a good rule of thumb on this, if you devote £20 per day for ads, which totals about £600 over the course of the month, and then set aside £100 per month for those other vehicles, the direct mail, marketing, or publishing and sending out perhaps your first book, that's a good way to make your marketing budget stretch a little bit further and give you a more quality perception in the eyes of your leads and prospects. So about £1,000 a month when you get to the growth phase, which is the target of hitting £10,000 per month or about £120,000 per year. You can see there's been a little bit of a shift in terms of quality and activities when you get to this kind of threshold. And it's at this point that you should probably be working with some expert assistance to get you over the line in some of these areas. We talked about YouTube advertising. You might get some help to create the YouTube ads and even the videos that go into making those. If you are writing your first book at that stage, you'd probably be looking at certainly some help to edit it and create it and produce a polished version that's nicely designed that can go out to your audience and look good on Amazon. So at this stage, we're definitely into that space where it's unlikely, unless you are truly superhuman, that you'll be doing all of these marketing activities or all of these promotional type activities in-house. At this stage, you've probably started to get a grasp of what works by way of your advertising, especially your core advertising channels. You'll have a good picture on what you can tweak and amend and test in order to get the most from that. But in some of those other areas, like using direct mail for the first time, like doing YouTube advertising for the first time, or creating your first purposeful book or more significant ebook around what you do, you'll likely be looking for external freelancer or VA help to do that with you and for you, just to make sure that you've got the level of quality in those outcomes that your business deserves when you get to that stage. So then let's think about what happens when you get to genuine growth and scale up mode. And at this level, we're beyond the £10,000 per month revenue threshold. We're moving towards that £20,000 per month revenue threshold, which running an expert business is perfectly possible. You've got enough hours in your week, in your month, in your year to be able to deliver the kind of work that goes with that kind of revenue business. That's not to say you have to. You might at that stage be bringing in associates or your first employees to do that. You'll have the budget to be able to do that at that stage. But let's take as our rule of thumb, aiming for a target of about £20,000 per month revenue, or round about £250,000 per year revenue for your business. How does that look different to the earlier stages? At this stage, in order to hit those kind of numbers, you'll have to have in your business multiple scalable lead sources for regular leads and new leads coming into your business in a consistent way. At this stage, you'll be having multiple leads per day dropping into your CRM. So that means having your advertising sources and having your promotion sources, your website fully tuned in to being able to generate leads on a consistent basis that then turn, however long it takes to turn those leads into consistent sales meetings. Most businesses, it's the majority of buyers aren't ready to buy immediately. We've talked about that before. You'll have a small percentage of people that come to your website that will be bottom of funnel, but the vast majority will be middle of funnel or top of funnel. And for argument's sake, it's about 3% that are in buying mode that will be discovering you. So you need to have something in place at this stage that turns on that nurturing tap and be able to have the revenue, the predictable revenues that are coming in from people that entered your world months ago, bubbling through to becoming clients of yours many months down the line, and have that consistency of being able to turn leads from first interest into educated buyers over that longer period of time. Now, at this stage, you'll be a lot more removed from the day-to-day activities of your marketing in order to deliver on this level of client revenues. You'll either be needing to manage a team that's doing that for you, a small team perhaps, it might even be associates, or you'll have your marketing activities underway and managed by either freelancers that you're outsourcing to, or perhaps you'll have taken on your first marketing assistant or even marketing manager at this stage to be able to help you. Again, aiming for that £20,000 a month threshold and taking as our good rule of thumb 10% of that as our marketing budget, let's break it down. So at this stage, systems are probably in the realms of about £400. So about 20% of that £2,000 a month systems and marketing budget. The remainder, so about £1,600, will be devoted to advertising. And at this stage, you might be spending about £40 to £50 a day on ads. So £40 would work out over the month at £1,200 of that budget on ads. And then outside of that, you'll be looking at things like direct mail again. You'll be scaling up, sharing your book with wider sources. You're probably also at the stage, once you get to this level, where you've got the credibility and authority and connections to be able to starting to build relationships with strategic referral partners, people who trust you to be able to deliver against what you do with people who are in their realm. And at this stage, that probably means that you'll be having affiliate programs or certainly referral partner payments that go to rewarding those people that are introducing leads into your world. So some of that £2,000 a month budget, outside of the advertising for new leads, some of that will go on paying out affiliates and referral partners for solid leads that are coming into your business. At this stage as well, your systems will slightly turn towards being able to manage internal processes more. That's the kind of not just marketing and sales automations that you've always had in the stages up to this stage, but also things around team automations. So allocating leads to different team members, allocating activities to different team members, perhaps having either somebody in-house or somebody that you've hired in as a freelancer or as an associate to do outbound dialing for you, people that have got to a certain stage, or a sales assistant who can work with you to pre-qualify leads who are coming in before they're having a sales conversation with you. That filtering call that might be a 10 or 20-minute filtering call with leads that have bubbled up to the surface, just to make sure that they're the right caliber, that they have the budget, that they are going to be a good client of yours before they sit down and have a sales conversation with you. So that's where your budget goes when you're in real scale-up mode. Beyond the scale-up mode, you'll have established lots of good processes and lots of good systems through going through this kind of growth process to be able to then start to think about how you then grow that. And it's at that stage that you'd probably start to bring on good quality business coaches or mentors to help you take that next jump. But in terms of you and my audience as solopreneurs and going through this kind of phase, those are the four ways, the four phases that I'd like you to think about your business and its growth and the systems and promotion that you need at those different stages. So as I wrap up today's episode, I want you to think about three things. The first one, in order to digest this a little bit further and get into some of the detail a little bit more, I'd encourage you to go and look at lemonadeplan.com/choose-marketing-systems to see this laid out in a grid format, and also then explained further about the different components that make up your systems and promotional side of things. Second thing, have a think about what you are looking to achieve with your business. Not every business is looking for massive growth and huge scale up. Many solopreneur businesses are started from a perspective of a lifestyle reason. Perhaps you or your partner are starting the business in order to give you more flexibility as you bring up children, or if you have been working in corporate for some time and you're just looking for a break from it, you might have started your business to give you that freedom, that flexibility, more time off, more freedom to pursue your own interests and get paid what you're worth, but over fewer hours every month. And that's fine. You might be aiming for something that doesn't meet one of those higher levels of what we've talked about there. And that's perfectly fine. All of those four different stages of business, if you operate them in the way that I've described on this episode, should all be really profitable ventures and give a good return on your efforts and on your marketing expenditure if you do things with the right structure and with the right purpose and systems in place in order to give you those returns. So no sort of judgment on what you're aiming for in terms of your business. Then third and finally, if you are moving down this pathway of going from stage to stage, I would strongly encourage you to look back as you do so regularly, perhaps every quarter, certainly every 6 months, at the 8 different stages of Lemonade. Because through all of these stages, you'll find that there are ways to hone, to improve, to look at things perhaps you've missed in those 8 different in those 8 different processes as you work through the growth stages of your business. Earlier on, as you get to that revenue predictability, there'll be a lot more onus on the early stages of Lemonade, the leads, the education, the meetings and the offers. But the more your business grows, there'll be a lot more of an onus on the second 4 of those processes: welcoming the new clients, having add-on sales, delivering the work, and importantly, getting endorsements for your work by way of reviews, referrals, or repeat sales. So those are 3 thoughts that I want to leave you with as we wrap up this episode. So thanks for your attention as I've gone through the different systems and different advertising and promotion that are involved in your business in this episode. It's been a slightly longer episode, but I hope it's been useful to you. On the next episode, I'm going to be talking about how do we then meaningfully plan the work that goes into each week, each month, each year by way of setting up and running those marketing systems in your business. So please stay tuned for that. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Solopreneur Podcast. Remember that what we learned today builds more value if there's a plan to take action on it tomorrow. So head to solopreneur.com and check out our growing community of action takers and all the training and software that you need to build a scalable business without breaking the bank. And if you value the show, please help others to discover it too by leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts, or by sharing a link to an episode on LinkedIn or wherever your finger does its scrolling.